republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will begin today with our consideration of agenda items. I believe we have one to add.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Requesting the addition of item 11B under administration to consider approval of the collective bargaining agreement with McLeod County, Minnesota Nurses Association for the period of January 1, 2023 through December 31, 2025, which is one of our 8 bargaining units.
Okay, are there any other additions or corrections?
Hearing none, I'll move on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Kruger, a second by Schmaltz to approve today's agenda items. Is there any discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? We have a motion by Wright, second by Nagel to approve today's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next up will be proclamations today. I'll be reading those. And these are for the month of May, as being known as Mental Health Month. So this proclamation for Mental Health Month 2023, whereas McLeod County health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas there is a strong research that animal companionship, humor, spirituality, religion, recreation, social connections, and work-life balance can help all Americans protect their health and well-being. And whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health and their chronic health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas each business, school, governmental agency, healthcare worker, organization, and citizens shares the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. Therefore, the chairman of McLeod County Board of Commission does hereby proclaim May 2023 as Mental Health Month in McLeod County. As the Board of Commissioners chairperson, I also call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in McLeod County to recommit to our community to increase awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps of our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. So that is the first proclamation. The next one, whereas addressing the complex mental health needs of children, youth, and families today is fundamental to the future of McLeod County. Whereas the need for comprehensive, coordinated mental health services for children, youth, young adults, and families places upon our community a critical responsibility. Whereas it is appropriate that a day should be set apart each year for the direction of our thoughts toward our children's mental health and well-being. Whereas Pact for Families Collaborative, through its unique approach to serving children, youth, and young adults with mental health or substance use disorders, is effectively caring for the mental health needs of children, youth, young adults, and their families in our community. Now, therefore, the chairman of the McLeod County Board of Commission does hereby proclaim May 11th, 2023 to be McLeod County Children's Mental Health Awareness Day, and urge our citizens and all agencies and organizations interested in meeting every child's mental health needs to unite on that day in the observance of such exercises that will acquaint the people of our community with the fundamental necessity of a year-round program for children, youth, and young adults with mental health and or substance use disorders and their families. So we definitely want to thank our team under Barrett Sports for all of the efforts that they make for McLeod County in those efforts.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, thanks for reading those two proclamations. Not just from for the benefit of the board and the people in this room, but also for the viewing public as well. So thank you, and let's keep mental awareness in our thoughts as we live our daily lives.
Very good. Moving on to our agenda, we'll call on Spencer Bauer, Building Maintenance.
Good morning.
Morning.
Consider approving a quote from Foster Mechanical to replace the variable air volume controls at the McLeod County Courthouse at a cost of $37,540 with the funds from the county building's major repair budget. Second quote was received from UHL for a cost of $41,245.
Questions or take action, board? We have a motion. Is there a second? I will second that. We have a motion by Nagel, second by Wright, to consider approving a quote from Foster Mechanical for $37,540 for the variable air volume controls. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next.
Okay, item B, consider approving the purchase of a 2022 Ford Escape SEL from Apple Ford Lincoln at a cost of $34,259.68 with the funds from the Southwest Minnesota Adult Mental Health Consortium. McLeod County Health and Human Services contracts with SMAM-HC to supervise 2 employees. SMAM-HC has $35,000 available to provide McLeod County for the purchase of a vehicle of one of these for one of these 2 employees. The second quote was received from Furry Ford in Waconia for 2022 Ford Escape SE at a cost of $33,162.25.
Mr. Chair?
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, we're going to ask if Barrett Spores can come up and just tell a little bit about Southwest Adult Mental Health Consortium. Sorry, so it's a lot to say.
No problem. Good morning.
And support Spencer's request for the vehicle for her department.
Sure, yes. First of all, thanks for Spencer for getting these quotes and getting this moving so fast. So the Southwest Minnesota Adult Mental Health Consortium, we call it SMOC sometimes. Commissioner Luthen sits on that board for us. It's an 18-county consortium where we, the dollars that McLeod County would get from the state of Minnesota to provide adult mental health services, we pool with this consortium, and so we have an investment in dollars that go there. The $35,000, we received a grant or a contract from SMOC to McLeod County, and it's kind of a use it or lose it money. So this was one of the ways we thought we could use some of that money. We also contract with them, as Spencer noted, to supervise 2 housing specialists, one of which would use this vehicle to travel throughout the 18 counties. And then that vehicle would be ours as well to sell later or to use as we see fit.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Spence, I got a question for you. Yep. I noticed the second quote was slightly less than the first quote. Can you explain why we're recommending to take the first quote?
Yep, so that first quote is an SEL model versus SE. The SEL has a few more features, some safety features, like larger tires, so it's got the 18-inch tires versus 17, and then it's got a reverse sensing system. There are obviously a few other perks to just a little bit nicer model.
Thank you.
Any further questions, or what would you like to do?
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the request.
Okay, we have a motion by Schmal, second by Luthens, to consider approving the 2022 Ford Escape SEL from Apple Valley Ford for the amount of $34,259.68. Is there any discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, we are a little bit too early to open the public hearing for County Ditch 12. Shall we jump it? Connie, would you like to take your item ahead of that?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Board. Today I have a few items. Item A is to consider the approval of an upgrade to the election reporting computer at a cost of $1,958 with funds coming from the HAVA grant money. And in 2021, the Minnesota State Legislature authorized $3 million distribution from the federal HAVA appropriation as grants to political subdivisions. McLeod County at that time received approximately $28,000 during the first round of funding. In 2022, the remaining funds not allocated during the first round were allocated to participating counties, and now McLeod County was granted $4,286.94 during the second round of HAVA. These grants must be used to improve accessibility, implement security improvements for election systems, and/or fund other activities to improve the security of elections. Today, I'm requesting to update our election reporting computer to Windows 10 Enterprise. The upgrade would be performed by our vendor, Election Systems and Software, and is certified in Minnesota as version EBS 6.0.7.0. The upgrade will enhance the security of our election reporting computer, first by updating the version and also by adding additional authentication and security measures.
Mr. Chair, I'll move request.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Schmalz. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Nagel to consider approval of the purchase of an upgrade of the election reporting computer at a cost of $1,958 with help from the Help America Vote Act. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Do you want me to continue through
Go
B
ahead.
and C?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. So item B is to consider approving the media burn programming license also through Election Systems and Software at a cost of $4,475 with funds coming from the elections budget. McLeod County has received a purchase proposal quote from ES&S requested by me for the media burn programming license for the period of 1 year. This would be a new process for McLeod to increase security by eliminating the shipping of the media that we use with our election tabulators and thus reducing vulnerability and risk.
Move to approve.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Nagel, a second by Luthens to consider approving the media burn programming license through the election systems and software at a cost of $4,475, funds from the elections budget. Any further discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And item C is to consider approving appointments to the Joint Drainage Authority Board of JD 18, Sibley McLeod counties pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 103E.235. During the September 19th, 2017 board meeting, appointments to the Drainage Authority systems were approved by this county board. With the 2022 redistricting in Sibley County, the commissioner districts were changed, creating the need to reestablish the Joint Drainage Authority appointments. During the April 19th, 2023 JD18 Sibley McLeod Joint Drainage Meeting, the appointment order was reestablished and approved by that board. The final steps needed for approval of the JD18 appointment order is for each county board to ratify the actions of each of the joint board. The appointments from McLeod County do not change and are still District 2 Commissioner Doug Kruger and District 3 Commissioner Paul Wright.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll move approval of the appointments as presented.
Is there a second? We have a motion by Commissioner Schmalz, second by Commissioner Luthens to consider approving the appointments at Joint Drainage Authority Board, Ditch 18, Sibley McLeod. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to emphasize, I'm going to just repeat what Connie said, but I just want to emphasize because there's I get a lot of calls on this ditch. So the only reason these numbers are changing is because of the redistricting that was mandated to Sibley County. They had to change their districts because of their boundaries, and there's a new 1 or 2 members on the county board there, and that's the only reason this is being done.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there any further discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, now we can begin. It's 9:15, so we can do our public hearing for County Ditch 12A. The first thing that we will need is a motion to open the hearing for 12A.
I make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Luthens, a second by Schmaltz to open the hearing for County Ditch 12A. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Let's see, Connie, you have item B.
We would consider approving the McLeod County Drainage Authority's April 20th, 2023 meeting minutes on the matter of County Ditch 12A.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Kruger, second by Nagel to consider approval of the minutes. Any discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we'll consider approving the agenda items for the continuation of the 12A public hearing. Is there anything that needs to be added to the agenda?
I'll move on the agenda as well.
Motion by Kruger, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Luthens to approve the agenda for 12A. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We'll now call on County Attorney to cover the purpose of today's hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of the hearing today is to review the proposed findings and order following the April 20th, 2023 hearing on historic review on County Ditch 12 and consider approval. During that April 20th hearing, Houston Engineering submitted and detailed their County Ditch 12A historic review report, and public comment was received. A motion was carried during that meeting to approve the record reestablishment report, and that April 20th meeting was recessed until today's date. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Now we're up to the review of the findings and order and consider approval. Connie, were there any other documents that needed to come at this point or not?
No, just the findings and order, and then also with the findings and order is the attachment of the historic review report. That was in your packet.
It's, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
It's in our packet. Do we need, I have no problem with it, so, but do we need to go over it? We don't really need to go over it, do we?
You don't need to go over the historic review report, but perhaps we could just read the findings that, based upon the foregoing, the Drainage Authority does hereby find that the engineer's reports, along with the existing records together, does accurately define the alignment, cross-section, profile, hydraulic structure locations, materials, dimensions, and elevations, and right-of-way of the drainage system, and adopts the CDA historic review report and establishes the as-constructed and subsequently improved condition as printed on Exhibit A, which was the technical memorandum 12A historic review.
Mr. Chair, I would move to accept those findings.
Second.
We have a motion by Kruger, a second by Luthens to accept the findings for ditch 12A. Is there any further discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. As far as the repair report services agreement, information we have on that. Connie, anything added on that?
So during our April 20th meeting, the landowners asked for this report to come, or the order for it, I should say, to come before the board today. And that's what was also included in your packet. There is the estimated fee of $24,800 to Houston Engineering for completion of that report.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I would also move to go ahead with or accept the engineer's repair report and service agreement.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Schmaltz to accept the engineer's repair report and service agreement. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, as I recall, this is kind of where we left off. The hearing previously was, to make clarification of the quote that we were to receive from Houston Engineering. So I think we're on track, and that's where we're at today.
Do we have anyone here from 12A that wanted to speak? Sir, is this your topic at all, or?
Yes, this fee of $24,000 some odd dollars,
Yes.
is that a normal fee, or is that just an engineer padding his bank account, so to speak? I thought it was kind of excessive. I don't know the conditions with this situation, but here you just approve it with no questions, no nothing, of just $24,000 some odd dollars for his fee. I feel it's kind of excessive.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
most all fees are excessive in today's age, in my view as well, but that, at the hearing the other day, we went through all this, and this is a necessary evil, so to speak, of getting these reports in order to go ahead with the repairs.
I would say that it's comparable to other systems that we have done, and it is necessary in the next step in order to provide the repair report.
Now, from 110th Street, which is not far from here, to the, I understand that the railroad tracks, that culvert needs repair, and is that up to the railroad's expense, or is that up to the taxpayers to fix that situation? Is the ditch been cleaned from 110th Street to the railroad crossing and south of that?
The railroad crossing itself should be a railroad expense. The importance of having the engineering done ahead of time so that when they do rebuild that, it is put at the proper elevation, because there is a problem with some of the other structures on there being replaced outside of the specs. I believe one of them was up to a foot off, and so we definitely want to make sure that any construction or repairs that are done on the ditch going forward are put in at the right elevation.
So from previous meetings, with that culvert, the railroad tracks, was that culvert too high, if I'm understanding correctly?
I believe
It's probably a little high, and it's also size, the sizing, the old one's there, the sizing is different, and again, that's why we needed this report, to make sure, and all the road authorities or transportation authorities, which the rail is, the roads, all that is put under, that is, they're responsible for getting them in, or, and cost, and getting them in properly. But they need this report in order to do that.
Will that railroad crossing, or culvert rather, will that be repaired and gotten to proper level this year?
That I can't tell you. With working with the railroad, I probably doubt it. They're working on it, that's all I know. I mean, railroad is slow, but they're working on it, and we're not having any difficulties. It's just everybody finds their money and their budgets.
Because water doesn't run uphill, you know.
That's correct.
It's only downhill, that's the way it works. I mean, some kind of dumb, but that's the way it is.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we do have a motion to approve.
Call the question.
Yep. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any other business deemed necessary for County Ditch 12A? Anything else?
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Does Mr. Granke have those reports? I mean, he's got the short version of the agenda. Oh, they had them up there, okay. Very good, that's all I want to know for sure. Thanks.
Oh, one more question, yep.
Has the ditch been cleaned on the north side of 22 all the way through my 80-acre farm in Section 10, Blanco Township? I understand that there were problems with a couple landowners, easements, repairing easements. Has that been successful? Has that ditch been cleaned through my 80-acre farm in Section 10, Blanco Township?
That's a Buffalo Creek part of this. That's the
Okay.
west project, so that, I don't know. I think it has, but I don't quote me on that. But there's no one here from Buffalo Creek, but they're either have it done or getting it done, that I do know.
to getting it done are words I don't like to hear.
Yeah, well, I'm not for sure on that one, so you can check with Buffalo Creek. Larry Phillips is the contact person there. I know they stay right on it, or getting it, I thought it was done, but
Have all the proper easements been acquired?
that's it's up to Buffalo Creek. I mean, I want to say yes, but I'm not the person in authority to say that.
Okay.
Okay, any other concerns? Looking for a motion to then close the public hearing for 12A.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Luthens, a second by Schmaltz to close the public hearing for County Ditch 12A.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
are we adjourning or recessing here?
Adjourning.
Okay, and there's no reason not to?
Correct.
Okay, I'm fine.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we've covered item 7 completely, so puts us into number 8, environmental services.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
2 items for your consideration this morning. Item A is to consider approval to opt out of the current marketing contract with Green Machine dated May 25th, 2022, to remove the material recycling MRF sort line processing equipment listed in the contract at a net purchase option of $200,000. The equipment removal will commence within 3 months of notification. Once a date is set for equipment removal, Green Machine would be wholly responsible for the removal of all equipment from site, including trucking and freight prep. Green Machine is responsible for all site work repairs such as filling and securing pits and terminating power. We talked about this at our April 18th workshop. I did have a call with John Green, the owner of Green Machine, last Wednesday, just to reiterate potential for buyers and the marketing of the sort line equipment. As he stated, the sort line, the recycling efforts have changed nationwide, so due to the heavy labor-intensive requirements of our current sort line, he's positive that it'll sell, but it'll have to be modified for buyers, so he's confident that he'll be able to move this, but it may take a while for him to do such. When I say that, it may take more than a year. So this is one of the options that was given in the contract, would be either to extend the contract with him or to ask for an opt-out, and they would then come and take it out, purchase that, and keep it at their site for sale.
Okay, questions, anyone?
I don't, Mr. Chair, I don't have any questions. I mean, if anybody has any or wants to continue it further, I'm confident in the opt-out. It fits with our goals, and it ends that speculation of when will we ever get it out if we don't do it that way. And again, it fits with our goals, so I'm happy with that. In fact, I'm so happy that I'll make a motion to
All right.
opt out.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kruger, a second by Luthens, to opt out of the current marketing contract with Green Machine dated back from May 25th, 2022. Any further discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So with that being said, just an update, I will work on getting a date back to the board from Green Machine as to when they'll be on site to begin that removal.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
one last comment. Thanks, Mark. I know you've been working on this a lot, and I think we just passed it. I think that's very reasonable to take this route, so
I
thanks.
appreciate that. Item B is to consider approving a contract with Mid-Minnesota Development Commission to complete the 10-year update for the McLeod County Solid Waste Plan at a cost not to exceed $30,800 with funds transferred from the Solid Waste Abatement Surcharge Fund. This contract will follow the checklist provided by MPCA, Municipal Pollution Control, Resource Management Assistance Division. Community Planner Ben Dolan would likely be the principal planner from the MMDC side, with support and assistance from Community Planner Kyle Ten-Naple and Executive Director Eric Day. I did speak to Eric about this. I forwarded on MPCA's checklist. I forwarded on our last plan, which was done in 2013. It was the intent of staff to do this internally. We met with MPCA mid to late January, which is why we didn't have this money allocated in the budget, which is why we're asking to take it out of the solid waste abatement fund, which fits because it's a landfill diversion project. And so with that being said, one of the reasons we can't do it staff-wise is the checklist that MPCA brought forward, which is a new format that they're asking for. So in essence, it's a new plan. We're going to need some help just due to time constraints with staff. So I did speak with Eric Day. Very impressed with what they are able to do for us. They haven't done a solid waste plan, but I'm very confident in their ability to do this. So with that being said, I would hope that we would consider approval of this request.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I do. I'm glad you brought that up. Mark, a question. I have, McLeod County has some commissioners appointed to Mid-Minnesota, and I'm on it as well. Could you, and I get questions, and I have some of my own ways of finding the value in belonging to that. Can you explain or shortly, in a short few sentences, the value of Mid-Minnesota helping us with that?
Yeah, so Mid-Minnesota going, in my years of working for the county, they've evolved quite a bit, basically from an office of 3 to 5 staff members, some of them being part-time, to now they have an executive director, Eric Day, with 2 full-time planners on staff. And their value to us is assisting us in writing a lot of these plans and trying to be that liaison between state agencies and local requirements for a lot of our funding requirements. So with that being said, they have expertise, they have staff hours available to assist smaller cities and counties in doing this. Typically, they are a lot less expensive than if we were to go to a consultant, private consulting firm. So in my mind, there's the value in and of itself. They do work closely with local government. They also work closely with state government. So with that being said, it is a natural liaison.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's good to hear. And when I said commissioners, I mean appointed. We have other appointed, our Barrett Sports sits on Mid-Minnesota, and we have a couple townships and other city representatives on Mid-Minnesota. So, and it has changed over the years of mine. We had a new director at Mid-Minnesota, so the scope has changed, and they have levying authority, and I would appreciate the value if you'd kind of let us know as we go along on these things, how the value of Mid-Minnesota, because that's easier to explain. I mean, we sit there, we're kind of the conduit to the money, which is fine, but as long as there's value. So
Yeah, I'd be
with
happy to do that. So this would be my first experience working with the new group, if you
Good.
will. And what they put forward in the conversation I did have with Eric today, I was very impressed with the follow-up, and then also been followed up with me in an email and just set some dates and some checkpoints for us, if approved by the board, to get going on this. And just what they've put forth as a schedule, I see value in that already, weekly check-ins and staying on top of this. So as far as I'm concerned, what they're asking is a very professional product.
Thank you, that's good to hear, and that's what that's what we're looking for. We use them in other places, other departments, so I'd like to hear the values. So with that, I'll make a motion to proceed with, what is the actual, to complete the 10-year update.
Second, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Schmaltz, to consider approving a contract with Mid-Minnesota Development Commission to complete the 10-year update for the McLeod County Solid Waste Plan at a cost not to exceed $30,800, funds from the Solid Waste Abatement Fund. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may, so that 30,800 and what not to exceed, there's potential that it'll be less than that. Staff will still be involved in this, and we will have those weekly check-ins. So with that being said, there will be work that we will do internally on that to help reduce that number if we can.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next up, Public Works.
Good morning.
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 Consider approving quotes from Chosen Valley Testing out of St. Cloud, Minnesota for material testing at a cost of $8,091, and a quote from Whitetail Land Surveying out of Silver Lake, Minnesota for staking at a cost of $2,000 as part of the Glencoe Area Transportation Services Construction Projects with funds from the capital asset budget. So we did receive another testing quote from Brown Intertech, and they were a couple $1,000s higher, and then E.G. Rude & Sons for the staking, they were about $1,600 higher. This is work that typically county staff could potentially do. We're just relying on the expertise, since this is a different sort of construction staking than our staff is used to, and then the materials testing as well. There is some structural steel inspection and that type of stuff, which our staff does not have expertise in.
Okay, wishes of the board. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Nagel, second by Commissioner Luthens, to consider approving a quote from Chosen Valley Testing at a cost of $8,091. Is there any discussion? We'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next.
We need the whitetail as well for the surveying. There were two separate quotes in that item.
Let's see here. And a quote from Whitetail Surveying for a staking cost of $2,000. Want to just do a second motion to put that in there?
I'd make that motion. I took for granted they were kind of put in one, but if we need two or to be safe, I'll make the motion.
All right, so we got a motion by Kruger, second by Nagel. I believe I might have made a mistake and didn't get that involved in there, so sorry about that. So this motion will be the quote from Whitetail Land Surveying at a staking cost of $2,000. That'll complete it, Andrew?
That'll complete it,
Okay.
yep. Thank you.
All right. Any discussion on that?
Mr. Chair,
Go
just
ahead.
to be perfectly clear here now, so what we have here is one quote for $8,091. That was our first motion. And the second one is $2,000 even, so $10,091 total.
When you wrap them together, yep.
Very good.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, we'll all proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, this one will operate about the same. There's two
Yep,
quotes
they're
in
together.
this item. So consider approving a quote from Crow River Construction out of New London, Minnesota to provide calcium chloride on 11.4 miles of county gravel roads at a cost of $45,356.63. And a quote from Central Minnesota Dust Control out of Springfield, Minnesota to provide magnesium chloride on 12.5 miles of county gravel roads at a cost of $46,868.40 from the highway construction budget. So this is going into our gravel road stabilization, dust control project that we are taking on this summer at the direction of the board here. We also will be doing about 1.6 miles of stabilization using a proprietary product called Base One, which we have used in the past as a base stabilization under paved roads. There are a couple counties, including Clay County, Minnesota, which have used this product with good results on stabilizing their gravel roads. We have a couple of totes left over from a previous construction project in inventory, so our plan is to use those as well to bring us up to a total of 25.5 miles of stabilization. We also have been linked in on this since we are already doing this project. The Minnesota Local Road Research Board released a research project on the effects of gravel road stabilization, and so we've been linked in with them. Michigan State University is the lead on that lead researcher on that project, and they're going to be doing pre-material testing. So next week they're going to come out and test all the materials on our roads, get gravel depths, pull some samples, run some gradation, see what we have for materials. They're going to do some condition ratings, And then throughout the project, they will be, or throughout the season, they'll be coming back out and doing that testing, some more of that testing. That testing is at no cost to us as part of the local road research board, which is funded through the highway distribution fund. And so it was a good opportunity for us to, since we're already doing this project, to get a little free testing and research out of the deal. At the end of the day, they will write up a report and we'll get a summary of the results.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, is this, now you said this was like the last one, this is just the one quote in here.
There are two quotes, one for magnesium and one for calcium.
Oh, can you tell me what that was? My second question is there, I mean, I'm used to calcium chloride. What is the real layman's version of what the difference in there?
It's essentially calcium versus magnesium in the mix. We're basically going to check with this research, we're going to see which one performs better on our gravel, and then do the cost-benefit analysis and see which is more cost-effective. As you'll see in the map in the board packet, we've laid out the test sections, and they're all roughly about a mile long. Most of them we have untreated sections in there, so we have some control in there to see what the difference is between treated and untreated.
But there still is two quotes. It's one project, but it's two.
Two quotes, yep.
All right, and I followed along. I'm glad in that data that you're getting from Michigan. Can you? I mean, I'm kind of excited and hope this works out for efficiency as well on some of our roads. Are we going to kind of track the weather too? Because I don't want to end up, getting some weather events that put a black eye to this project. You know.
That is all part of Michigan's research,
that is
as well as they're tracking the weather. Traffic counts, we're going to be doing a little bit of counting out there on roads that we don't have counts on already. So that'll all factor in and into their analysis.
Because the way this year's been going, we don't know what's going to happen, and I don't want to have acts of God ruin our project or what we are trying to do here.
Yep. And I will add,
again, I hate to be dumb, but
I will add
what's the difference? You want to me, that if we approve it, it's just we're approving partly magnesium and partly calcium.
Correct.
But you want it still on two.
Two different products.
It's two different products from two different
I'm fine,
suppliers.
yeah, okay.
Yep.
And again, one last comment for me is I was hoping, and we had shared information about some more local contractors, because is the reason, and I actually, is the reason, what seems to be me, is some of the smaller contractors are not able to do these scope of projects. Is that the biggest reason?
Correct. We had one contractor back out at the last minute with their quote because they were not capable of doing the quantity of work we needed.
And I'm glad they put that in there. I mean, some of these guys, we get questions about that. Not that Springfield isn't local, but it isn't local. It's just, so there's a good reason why that we're doing it this way. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the first quote of, what is it, $45,356.63?
Do you want to do them together or separate, Commissioner?
Well, I'm understanding that we need to do, I'd do them together if you'll take that.
They're in the same agenda item, so I believe we could take them together.
Okay, I would approve the whole agenda item B then.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Nagel. So we have a motion by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Nagel to approve the two quotes in item B, which is the first Crow River construction for 11.4 miles of county roads at a cost of $45,356.63. The second quote in this item is from Central Minnesota Dust Control to put magnesium chloride on 12.5 miles at a cost of $46,868.40. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
A couple of questions to you, Andrew. It's my understanding that the base one is not a dust control product. Am I correct on that?
You are correct. It is not a dust control product. It is a gravel stabilization. So it works a little different than your chlorides work, where it does not bind the moisture to the fine particles. It actually binds the fine particles together.
So my follow-up question to that is the test area of the base one going to be overlaid with a dust control product, or are you going to have it as a standalone?
We are going to have it as a standalone area.
And the other comment I want to make, Mr. Chair, is I'm glad that we're putting some truth testing to what we're trying to do here instead of us just doing an assessment saying, yeah, that looked really good. I'm glad that hopefully we'll get some useful data from the Michigan State University group to follow up with how our applications have worked. One more question, Mr. Chair. Yep. Is there still a soybean-based product out there? And did you have any inquiries pertaining to a product like that?
Yep, so we were working with Tacoma Township. They were looking into using a soy-based product. That soy-based product, based off of what they were looking at, we essentially had to buy a tanker load to get it. And the tanker load would do 1 mile of road at a pretty steep cost. And Tacoma backed out on that because of the cost and some of the negative effects that they've heard that can happen. It's essentially an emulsion oil, vegetable emulsion, kind of like a seal coat oil, and you spray it down, then you have to spread some chips over top, and then there's the possibility of it reacting when it rains and having some issues with splatter on cars. So we kind of pivoted away from that and decided not to do that together.
Thank you.
Okay, any
Mr.
further
Chair?
questions? Yep.
As you can tell, our guys have been working on this. And I'm sure we're going to pursue. We did push for soybean because of our ag county, but facts are what they are. So, but we'll keep looking into it. And I just want to point out that some are going to look at this and look at the costs, but if we can figure out an efficient way to sustain some of our county roads. I mean, there's gravel needs. The costs are astronomical, and so I'd be willing to answer questions of people that are a little skeptical of this. But if we've discussed shortage of gravel on some roads. I mean, the costs. If we can work out a program through this in the long run will be very beneficial and efficient for McLeod County, I hope, and I know that's what you're looking at, but I just wanted to make sure it was stated.
Okay. Any further questions? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
So timing on this project, we are still working to get all our roads back in shape after winter. This last snowfall we had a couple weeks ago kind of negated all our progress and put us back to square one on a few roads. So we are getting geared up to spot gravel some of these roads that need some gravel that we are going to dust coat. We're going to get them all shaped up, and then hopefully probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks then we'll be doing the dust coating.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Question, Andrew, about the timing and working with the public on this. Are we going to somehow give notice to public on some of these application areas so that the public knows that, if they've been doing their own private applications, that they may have the choice of holding off on their own applications knowing this is coming?
Correct. We have letters already drafted, ready to go out, just waiting for this approval on formal approval. So.
Good, thank you.
Okay. All right, next up will be employee relations.
Good morning.
Morning.
I just have one item this morning. Consider approving a recommendation from the Personnel Committee to add 2 veteran van driver positions to the van driver pool. This addition comes just based on a need. We're seeing an increase in ridership, which is great. More rides, shorter rides, because of some more community care options that have been offered for veterans. So we have within our pool right now, we have 8 drivers. We're looking to increase to 10. And basically, right now, these are considered 67 shift employees, that's the number of shifts they can work in a year. Based on the number of rides that the current pool have completed at the beginning of April, we have concern about having enough availability for the last quarter of 2023. So again, shorter shifts, it won't be a really big budget increase, but it is meeting the needs of our veterans in McLeod County.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just happened to have my veterans meeting last night, and this was brought up and discussed. I didn't actually know for sure where we were in the process, but it is when you say we need, the county is running this program, but the veterans numbers are way up on rides, and we're really busy. The SO organizations are tracking this. I mean, we're really busy getting these people out, so I'm really glad that we picked up these two drivers. They're really needed, and with that, I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Schmaltz to approve the recommendation to add 2 veteran van driver positions to the van driver pool. Any discussion?
I have one last question, Mr. Chair, and that's, I believe from my conversations, we're all right as far as the vans themselves. The conditions are good on the vans, and the number is adequate even with these 2 increased in drivers. Is that right?
I'm not aware of any additional needs of the actual vans.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. anything
Mr.
else?
Chair, I do know that our Veteran Service Officer, Cassandra Kerrigan, made a comment yesterday that there wasn't expected to be any additional van purchases in the near future, so the scheduling must work out with the staffing that's provided here. Thank you.
Okay, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, next move on to county administration. We will review our calendars. Chances are our calendars are going to be fairly lengthy reports today, as we had Student Government Day the last time we met, and so we did not cover our calendars to try and speed that meeting along. And so, are we ready, Mr. Nagle?
Yeah, I'm just going to go over a few things. Back to April 4th, meeting in the workshop, I had a few NACO phone calls scheduled regarding public safety. Fair Commission meeting, that focused on the pavilion project that we've since talked about, voted on some engineering plans. I'm going to focus on that just for a little bit. I got some phone calls and texts regarding that. There was a story in the local newspaper regarding that and some criticism regarding the article, which I think was unfair, how it came across regarding the recent parks planning and how it was perceived. The parks and fairgrounds in our world are together, and I think that is a good fit, in my opinion, and in this case, that was argued over text, which is always dangerous, right? Which was unfortunate. But that's, in this moment, that's how our organization is structured. Is that always going to be the case? I'm not sure, but right now that is. And while it is true that we are committed to improving, or at least exploring improvements in our park systems, that does include our fairgrounds, and the funding for this pavilion could and maybe should come from some of the same fund sources with that. It's not completely decided where all those funds will come from and how that will look, but just know that we are open to those questions, but in my opinion, harshly worded texts and uneducated opinions as they come across don't go that well, especially with me. But I am happy to answer the questions, and if I don't have the answers, I'll find them for you. But these decisions are tough, right? These projects are expensive. They're coming in much more expensive than we ever realized. Commissioner Kruger always does a really good job of articulating how that works, in this day and age about the prices, and it's hard and it's difficult, and it's gonna take some tough decisions on what projects we're gonna be able to do, and we're gonna have to make some difficult decisions on what we're not gonna do. If we could do them all, we would, if it made sense, and we'll keep going forward. In speaking specific to the pavilion project, if it would move forward, and again, we haven't completely decided whether it would, I think what it would look like, in my mind, is a kind of a sister pavilion to what is there now. Probably a little bit more year-round use, at least closer to year-round use, more enclosed, with doors that on either end that are able to still have that appearance of that open atmosphere that we can use for events, weddings. Everybody loves that piece of it. But yeah, it's tough. We're in Minnesota. We get about 6 days of nice weather. Someday it feels like. But we want to try to find that. And we're not looking to build more camper storage or pickleball courts. We're trying to find a way to bring in other events, whether it be concerts or weddings or who knows what, to the fairgrounds area, and enhance that complex in other ways. That particular piece of the county is very dynamic. It has a group of people that it's invested to, or that are invested into it, and Paul can speak better to it than I can, but they're so invested to it when it was built 30 years ago, give or take, how it was designed and the thought process that went into it and the flow of how you enter it to the mall where the pavilion would sit, or the current one does sit, to the ring road that goes around it, and how we're going to reconstruct that, to the drainage piece, and how the buildings sit now, and the roof lines, and everything that goes into it is amazing. How we think about the thought that goes into that, and we want to honor that as it goes through. So know that is being honored as we go through it. And yes, the parks and the fairgrounds are one, and we're trying to find a way to do everything we can to both of those entities as we move forward. So hopefully that answers some questions that I went through that. The only other thing, because I'm sure there's some lengthy reports that I'm going to go over, I had the opportunity and the honor to attend a conference that unfortunately pulled me away from the boardroom. It's called Special Operations and Training. It's a world that is probably more focused in my law enforcement career, but it did allow me to educate myself in the commissioner world as well. Attended with some McLeod County representatives. It's a tactical component where I got to attend some excellent training and also see some equipment and resources and the abilities that we have throughout the state and the region where we can share, but where we can't share, and where we as a county need to invest in our people and in our equipment. And we've done a really good job. We have some, in my opinion, we have some things we need to continue to do and continue to grow at, but we've done a great job, and I think that's a compliment to the board and to the sheriff's office and the county as a whole, and I guess I would want to thank everybody for that. But I learned a lot. I apologize to the board and to the constituents for having to miss a meeting for that, but I think sometimes you can find value in being gone too, and I hope I did. So, thank you.
All right. I'll kind of skip through a few of these as well. In the course of the last month, there have been a lot of ditch meetings, including ditch number 8, judicial ditch number 18, county ditches 12, 16, 5, some redeterminations, some updates of projects, and getting some projects moving for the season. Had a meeting with Collins Township Buffalo Creek Watershed on a road that is failing due to some flooding, and they're looking for some options on that. You see, did have a meeting a few weeks ago from Public Works. Andrew and Eric joined me with residents along my county roads 53 and 58. They were selected to have the gravel test strips put on them, and I just wanted to have an opportunity to visit with those landowners. And our guys did a great job of talking through the process as to why we're doing this, what are the real costs, and some of the hardships that we face on gravel road maintenance. And of course, we heard some issues from the residents, and in time, hopefully we can revisit some of those gravel road policies and continue to work on our county gravels. Last week, I also joined Andrew, where he had a great meeting with our landowners that will be impacted by our newest roundabout construction on 115 and Jefferson. I just want to commend him on his efforts to get those landowners together in that kind of a public informational format. There was a couple individuals there from the Hutchinson Public Works as well, answered questions and set some of those landowners at ease with some of the changes that they'll see happening. It'll just make that construction season on that project go a lot smoother. Yesterday, I met with members of the Lake Marion Lake Association, Broughton Rod and Gun, the DNR and McLeod County staff on the continuing project of working with Lake Marion. It's an aquatic invasive species and how it benefits not only the residents, local fisheries, but also our county park system. Just to cover a few of the other things that I got to do, about a month ago, we had our local group To Be Continued come here for our first community spotlight. I had an opportunity, my wife and I, to be one of the dance couples for their primary fundraiser for the year. And I can say that I've never been so scared to say yes and been so heavily rewarded in an event in my life. And that was a fantastic event, and to see people just literally come out of the woodwork to support what that organization is doing and the tremendous impact that they're making. Last year, this event raised $141,000. This past year, or just a couple weeks ago, their event raised $204,000. So the community is really embracing their efforts, that what they do for the schools and their continued community impact is really outstanding when you see that. So anybody who got to watch, you got to see me get chased around the stage with a fork and eventually jump over a gate during that performance. But so it was fun. And then also, I had the opportunity to attend. We on our farm and our family is very supportive of our 4-H FFA programs. They attended our regional FFA banquet held up in Benson a couple weeks ago, and last week attended our state FFA convention, which has been a long time since I've been there. The state convention had 5,000 guests and members present. And if any of you are familiar with the FFA official dress of the blue jacket, there were blue jackets absolutely everywhere. And to be there and to see kids, young adults recognized literally by the hundreds for their achievements statewide in your typical categories of livestock and crops, and then we got into floriculture, horticulture, we got into ag business, natural sciences, various leadership exercises. It was just continuous, and it was just really fun to sit there. Of course, our schools here, Glencoe Silver Lake School District has a very robust program, and so does Hutchinson. So there was a lot of kids there from that, and it was just really cool to sit there and take all that in. Very professional setting, and once in a while kids got to be kids, but for the most part, very, very professionally. Driven bunch, and look forward to to seeing what a lot of those young adults do later on in life, because they've got some really cool projects where they've taken out loans, they bought equipment, they bought animals, they've invested themselves in small businesses to make their projects for which they were awarded, and I think the future is looking bright for an awful lot of them kids. So that wraps up my report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'm going to thank both Commissioner Nagel and Wright for their reports, because it's really important to the county, both well, with law enforcement and with our kids. I mean, that's kind of says a lot for what we're all going through today, so I'm proud of them guys for doing that. My report is a lot more boring than that. I see water all over my reports here, and that's what I really did for the last couple of weeks. Was a lot of water. I was out on several landowners' places and several meetings. I'll run through a few. We had a couple of budget meetings, looking and seeing how our budgets are for 23. I had 2 Buffalo Creek board meetings that I attended. There's an improvement project going on JD8, and that's been taking some of our time. I have had also 2 MRC meetings. The latest one was yesterday. I mean, it's really hard today to represent or to even it's everything going on is one-sided. I mean, we're just hard to get the rural voice out there. We're doing the best we can. I am really happy with our participating counties and our staff that are lobbying in the cities, but or in St. Paul. That's all I really have to say. I mean, it's just tough times now, how we sustain some of the costs going forward. We've had an environmental workshop. I also participated yesterday in an interview for our new VSO candidates. That went very well, very proud of that. Our administrator, I'm sure, will keep us up to date on how that's moving along. We had Student Government Day back on the 18th. We had talking about some young people. We had a good turnout and a good day for the Student Government Day. So I'm very proud of that as well. I had a Southwest Corridor, which is 212. 212 is moving along. I hope it stays on schedule, because some of the new transportation funding is really tied to a bunch of higher cost construction work. So I'm hoping that stays on schedule, because we should be ahead of all the new mandates that are coming down. With that, again, it was pretty much all water, and now I hope we stay dry and move into spring and a safe planting season. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Kruger. And Mr. Chair, I'd like to start my calendar report by giving a recognition and note the passing of Bergen Township Supervisor Ryan Eide. Ryan began his township supervisor role in 2016. This would have been Ryan's 8th year of service to Bergen Township. Even as recent as, this January and February, Ryan was an instrumental part of our turnback discussions that took place between McLeod County and Bergen Township. His contribution to Bergen Township and McLeod County will be felt for decades to come. And I'll quote a sentence from Ryan's obituary stating, "Ryan loved his community and was proud to be serving as a township supervisor for Bergen Township. My sympathies go out to Ryan's family. Ryan will be missed. His service will not be forgotten." So, Mr. Chair, I had a pretty busy calendar. I won't really elaborate on what business had taken place, but I'll start on the 4th of April. We had a workshop after our board meeting, and then on the 6th of April, I had a SHAC Zoom training meeting. SHAC is the State Community Health Services Advisory Committee. SHAC is connected with our CHB that we share with Meeker, McLeod, and Sibley counties. On Friday the 7th, I had a mental health local awareness advisory committee meeting at our solid waste facility in Hutchinson. The following week, I met with a landowner who is a parcel owner in Bergen Township to go over flooding issues with him. Monday the 17th, we had a County Ditch 5 informational meeting here at the Government Center. Tuesday the 18th, County Board meeting, again, as was stated, Student Government Day. I was excited to see the students that we had in attendance, and I believe that they were very excited with the tour they received in our courthouse and jail facilities. And I think what really excites them is when they get to crawl around some of the equipment that we have on display, snowplow trucks. I call it the door knocker, but it's the emergency services armored vehicle on wheels. I think the kids really were excited to be in there and see what that machine is capable of doing. That evening, along with Administrator Murphy and myself, we made an appearance at the Winston City Council meeting. Fortunately, Winston invites me into their council meetings once a year. We give a report. We also put ourselves in front of the council to field questions from them and their community in Winsted. Thursday, the 20th of April, we started off my day with Labor Negotiations Committee here at the Government Center, and then that evening I had a Pioneerland Library Joint Powers Board meeting in Wilmer. April 24th, Monday, we started out with our emergency board meeting where we declared a McLeod County emergency declaration for the flooding that had been going on. I had a CHB executive meeting. Luckily, that one was held by Zoom in the afternoon. And then in the evening, several of us attended the Glencoe Turnback workshop held at the Glencoe City Center at 5 o'clock. Thursday, the 27th, we had a solid waste workshop that Mark held at Solid Waste. And then again, I had a SHAC noon Zoom meeting. And I finished my day driving to Redwood Falls for a UCAP Joint Powers Board meeting. Friday, the 28th, we had a CD5 public hearing. And then yesterday, Monday, I had Supporting Hands Nurse Family Partnership, a Joint Powers Board meeting held in Olivia that I attended, which brings us to this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, there's not much left.
It's pretty busy.
Out of the 24 days, 17 days I was busy with county work. And they're all about duplicates, we're all done, so thank you.
Go ahead, County Attorney.
Thank you. I would just also like to compliment the Student Government Day on April 18th. It was my first opportunity to participate in that, and the students that were here were engaged, well-mannered and inquisitive. They had questions. even I'm a little worried in my presentation, which seems to be boring after the armored vehicle and snowplow and jail tours, but there were a lot of great questions, and then we a follow-up at lunch where some additional discussion occurred. So I just appreciate the students' attendance, what county staff did to make that happen, and then the school advisors that brought them. They did a nice job. Thank you.
Administrator.
I have nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Item A, notification of board workshop following the board meeting on Tuesday, May 16, 2023, here at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. And item B, 11B, which we added at the beginning of the meeting, asking for you to consider approval of the collective bargaining agreement with McLeod County, Minnesota Nurses Association Bargaining Unit for the period of January 1, 2023 through December 31, 2025. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll add that we have, I believe, tentative agreements with 7 of our 8, or tentative or approved agreements with 7 of our 8 bargaining units. Tomorrow, we have mediation with our final bargaining unit and are full for end nearing for our employees in those units. Thank you. I should say an ending contract. We don't want them to go anywhere.
All right.
Thank you.
So you need a motion on accepting the Nurses Association?
Yes, please.
I would so move.
And I'll second it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Nagel, a second by Commissioner Schmaltz to accept the contract by our nurses union. Is there any further discussion on that? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda today. Is there anything for open forum or press relations? Seeing none, we'll then be looking for a motion to recess.
Move recess, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Schmaltz, second by Commissioner Kruger to recess to our next county board meeting, 9 o'clock Tuesday, May 16th at the McLeod County Government Center. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll take a 5-minute break and begin our workshop agenda.